This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Seize this sword. Di Jia ordered coldly and made a seal with one hand in front of him. The demonic aura on his body gradually rose, and the sky became more oppressive. All the martial artists felt unbearable and looked at him in horror. Only Jiang Huishu and the other two seemed to have been injected with energy. Their momentum rushed up and they bared their fangs and brandished their claws. Mo Xiaochuan snorted coldly. His face was as calm as water as waves of weapon essence emanated from his sword and surrounded his body, forming a barrier that isolated the demonic qi from entering. He shouted, a group of rascals turned into dust under the sword. 1,000 feet noble art, the cold wind blows the snow and reflects the lonely city. The vast evil extermination sword qi vibrated out from the treasured sword, and snowflakes actually fell in the sky full of demonic qi. The cold light reflected on the snow, casting a desolate shadow, like an ancient city isolated in the cold wind and snow. An ocean of sword qi spread out from the sky-killing devil-rinsing sword and enveloped Jiang Huishu and the other two in an instant. Countless snowflakes turned into biting cold sword qi and strangled them with a loud clang. Jiang Huishu and the other two were shocked. They suddenly burst out with amazing power, but the sea of sword qi pressed over and immediately shocked the three of them. Under the strangulation of the sea of sword qi, he tried his best to resist, but he still fell into danger and was too busy to respond. Jiang Huishu's Wuji fan was also a 9th-tier profound artifact, so he could still deal with it calmly. However, Yuqi Jin and Huiyin were not so lucky. The sword qi entered their bodies one after another, and their bodies began to be slashed continuously. This sword really has a strong suppressing effect on my demonic qi. Di Jia's eyes were filled with killing intent. It's actually feeding the sword with its own body. It's using its own body as a scabbard to nourish the sword. No wonder it can exert such a powerful sword power. He instantly turned into a black light and rushed into the sea of swords. Yunxiao's face turned cold as he said, Di Jia, you're bent on taking over my body. You really think I'm easy to bully? Since I can release you, I can also suppress you back. He moved in an instant and moved into the sea of swords, blocking in front of Di Jia, and struck down with a wind and cloud palm.
Ha!
You're looking for death. Di Jia laughed. Since you can't wait to give me your body, I'll take it. A fist shadow condensed out of the black gas and smashed down as well, but it was shattered by Yunxiao's great wind and cloud palm. The black gas did not reduce in size, but spread toward Yunxiao and continued to seep into his body. Yunxiao's body began to turn black, and patterns began to emerge on it. Young Master Yun. Young Emperor Haolian was shocked. He turned into a golden light and rushed over. He threw a shocking punch at Di Jia. The demonic qi that filled the sky was distorted at this moment and was actually sucked into the fist intent space, suppressed. Di Jia frowned and said, Immortal fist intent? Why are they all so troublesome? He formed a seal with his hands, and a barrier condensed around his body, blocking the collapsing fist intent space. Hao Lian Xiaowang's punch seemed to have hit an iron block, and it could no longer advance. Get out of the way, Xiao Huang. Yunxiao suddenly said. After the demonic qi entered his body, not only did black demonic patterns appear on his body, but he also underwent a demonic transformation after merging with the demonic dragon. Dragon scales grew on his body, and his 3 eyes opened at the same time. They were blood red and formed a strange formation. A powerful spiritual energy spread out from his mind. Eye technique, Dark Night. As soon as Yunxiao gave the order, the entire space trembled, as if thousands of birds were chirping in their ears. A great pain drilled into everyone's mind, as if someone had stabbed them in the head. The warriors around them held their heads and howled. This was just the aftermath of his spiritual attack. The strange form of the 3 eyes formed a round golden array in front of him. Just one look at it made him feel a piercing pain as if his head was being cut open. The strongest attack of this golden array converged into a line and broke through the power of Di Jia's wizardry barrier. It shook his body like waves, and his face turned pale. Young Emperor Hulian had flown away the moment Yunxiao shouted, but he was already holding his breath and warily resisting the aftermath of the mental attack. Gu Feiyang's eye sorcery was unparalleled in the world, and he was the best in spiritual attacks. He naturally knew how terrifying it was. Bang! The power of the enchantment around Dijia suddenly disintegrated at this moment, like glass breaking. The black demonic chi poured into his body, and he took a few steps back in the air, his face full of anger and shock. At this moment, the power of Mo Xiaochuan's sword had reached its limit and he could no longer hold on. Looking at the three people who were about to be killed in the sea of sword chi, he sighed in his heart and said, "What a pity." The sky-killing devil-rinsing sword was retracted. The sea of sword chi disappeared and the snowflakes disappeared. Everything was clear again. Jiang Huishu and the other two were all seriously injured, but they were still in high spirits. Their eyes were filled with determination to fight to the death. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws, but they didn't rush forward. They seemed to be waiting for Dijia's further orders. After Mo Xiaochuan's attack, his elemental energy instantly dropped to its lowest point. He suddenly swallowed some pills and was on full alert. All the warriors around them turned pale, and cold sweat poured down their faces like rain. Yunxiao's spiritual attack had almost made them collapse, and when they thought of how they had surrounded this man earlier, they felt even more afraid and chilled. After the attack, Yunxiao closed all three eyes at the same time, and his face was paler than anyone else's. He had consumed too much energy just now. When he opened his eyes again, his eyes had returned to normal, but there was a tear in each of his eyes, shining with a crystal-clear light. Dijia's pupils trembled as he stared at Yunxiao's open eyes and asked in surprise, "Dragon's tears?" Yunxiao nodded. "Yes, it is the tear of a true dragon. It can't be better to moisten my eyes. Dijia, I advise you to give up on any ideas against me, or you'll really be finished." "Humph. Do you really think you've won just because of that one move?" Dijia said coldly, "It's a pity that your body was already mine the moment the demonic chi entered your body. Don't tell me you haven't noticed that you're much stronger than before." He revealed a sinister smile as his hands formed a seal and spat out a strange symbol. He shouted, "Don't." The entire sky was quiet, without a single sound. The sound of the wind could be heard. Dijia frowned, and there was a look of surprise in his eyes. He looked at Yunxiao and found that he had indeed been demonized, so he said, "Still not coming over to pay respects to me?" Everyone's heart trembled as they looked at Yunxiao in horror. Mo Xiaochuan and Hulian Xiaowang's hearts were in their throats, and their eyes gradually widened as they grew extremely nervous. "Pay respects?" The corners of Yunxiao's mouth curved up as he said with a smile, "Are you out of your mind?" "What?" Dijia's body trembled. You have indeed been demonized," he said in horror. "How is this possible? I could clearly sense the demonic chi in that eye technique, Dark Night. Why wasn't it under my control?" Yunxiao's eyes flickered with mockery as he chuckled and said, "This isn't the first time I've been demonized. This level of demonization still can't obliterate my consciousness." His voice suddenly turned cold as he said indifferently, "It's precisely because being demonized can increase my strength that I allowed your demonic chi to enter my body. Otherwise, do you think your laughable demonic chi could invade my body?" With a sneer on his face, the black demonic patterns on Yunxiao's body receded one by one, and finally disappeared under Dijia's shocked gaze. Dijia's face became extremely serious, and he said coldly, "You can actually control demonization? I really can't let you live. Don't show your fangs and brandish your claws." Yunxiao sneered. "You can't make me stay." The two of them were fighting and assisting each other. The battle started at once, and everyone became nervous again. In particular, the martial emperor from Division 7 had long turned pale. He could also tell that Dijia was not a good person. Jiang Huishu seemed to be controlled, so he retreated far away from the battle circle and watched quietly. After a brief shock, Dijia immediately returned to normal and sneered, "You think too highly of yourself. In front of me, any outstanding genius is just an ant." the demonic qi on his body surged again. He just stood there quietly, but Jiang Huishu and the other two's expressions suddenly changed. They held their heads in pain, and their bodies began to change rapidly. They gradually swelled up and turned into monsters. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws in the air, and their strength was greatly improved again. Only Huayin's body didn't change even though she was wailing in pain. A layer of pale yellow flames gradually emerged on her body, protecting her from turning into a demon. Oh. He even has a mutated flame seed on him. Di Jia was surprised. It's fine. Slaves are useless after they are completely demonized. It's good to keep one with me. He tapped his finger lightly, and Huayin received the order. She quickly retreated behind Di Jia and was finally freed from the pain. Yun Xiao's face flickered. He found that not only were Jiang Huishu and Yu Qijin completely demonized, but even the warriors who were watching from a distance had begun to mutate. It turned out that Di Jia had secretly invaded these people's bodies with demonic energy from the beginning, and even the martial sovereign in charge was no exception. For a moment, the sky was filled with mutated demons. We've really gone too far this time. Young Emperor Hulian laughed out loud in shock. Xiaochuan, how are we going to split this? Give me these demonized martial emperors and you can have the rest, Mo Xiaochuan said coldly. Humph. Young Emperor Hulian snorted. Don't think that I can't tell that you're no longer capable. If you still had any strength left in that strike, you wouldn't have let those 3 people live. Mo Xiaochuan's expression changed slightly. He brandished his sword, and his aura began to rise. I don't need you to worry about me. Please mind your own business. Humph, so arrogant, young Emperor Hulian snorted. Just wait and see how I'll save you. He raised his lips slightly, but the solemnness in his eyes became deeper and deeper, and he was on full alert. Yun Xiao's face was solemn, and his body was gradually emitting a cold aura. You really want to go big? Aren't you afraid that you'll cause too much of a commotion and attract experts from all over the world to come and kill you? Di Jia sneered disdainfully, kill me? You're too naive. Moreover, there's a barrier formation here, so even if we flip the sky, the people outside might not be able to sense it. You're so confident. Yun Xiao smiled. Are you? Di Jia returned a sneer and said proudly, of course, even if you had a saint weapon, it wouldn't be able to save you. Yun Xiao smiled and stopped talking to him. Instead, he pointed out a finger, and a stream of cold air flowed out, gradually condensing into 2 long swords in front of him. Old Gao, you've worked hard. As soon as the 2 northern heaven frigid star swords were unsheathed, the sky instantly turned dark. Dark clouds began to surge, and the color of the sky changed. Di Jia was stunned, and then his face became a little serious. He said in a deep voice, lightning tribulation? It's the thunder tribulation of a 9th-tier mystic artifact, Yun Xiao said with a smile. Do you think all the warriors in the boneyard will be alarmed when 2 bolts come down at the same time? Di Jia's face was filled with anger as he shouted, all of you, go and tear them apart. The demons in the surroundings bared their fangs and brandished their claws, making terrifying sounds from their throats. They turned into black lights and rushed forward. For a moment, black shadows filled the sky, and the sun and moon dimmed. Mo Xiaochuan was shocked and was about to draw his sword when Yun Xiao said indifferently, you rest for a while, I'll take care of these minions. The divine realm tablet flew out from between his eyebrows and emitted thousands of rainbow lights in the sky. The power of 4 territories was fully released, and the power of earth, water, fire, and wind suddenly emerged. The power of an independent realm began to surge out of the divine realm tablet and spread in all directions, trying to devour all the demons. Black light flashed all over the sky, and the demons that had rushed up first were all sucked into the divine realm tablet, leaving nothing behind. Di Jia's face changed and he said in horror, the power of the world. With your weak cultivation, you can actually drive the power of the world. Yun Xiao stared at him coldly and mocked, Di Jia, you've always been arrogant in front of me. If you have the guts, do you dare to play with my holy weapon? Di Jia sneered, if I really go in, I'll be sick. Since these minions are all useless, let's use them for the last time. He waved his hands, and demonic shadows flashed in front of him. Under his control, the minions who had turned into demons suddenly had their auras rise again, and their bodies expanded without limit. They were about to self-destruct. Swish. Boom. One of the minions' body expanded to its limit and suddenly dashed down, crashing into the power of the Divine Realm tablet. It turned into devil chi and disintegrated, leaving nothing behind. Yunxiao's face flickered as he said in horror, "How can he be so strong?" That was just a lackey at the peak of the martial emperor realm, but his self-explosion had caused his Divine Realm tablet to tremble slightly. If the remaining demons had such power, his Divine Realm tablet would not be able to withstand it. Di Jia suddenly laughed and said, "It's not just their bodies or their meridians that exploded because of them, it's also their souls." His face became somewhat sinister as he said coldly, "Once you've joined the devil, even your soul will be under my control." Yunxiao's face flickered when he suddenly saw dozens of fiend shadows rushing at him. He immediately exerted the power of his world to the extreme, and at the same time, 3 sword beams flew out of his body again, forming a 5-sword pattern with the 2 swords he had just wielded. They spread out around him and formed an ultimate defensive array. The demons burst into laughter as they charged at Yunxiao and self-destructed, each blow sending Yunxiao's blood and chi into turmoil and causing blood to flow out of his 7 orifices. The smile on Di Jia's face gradually faded. He looked up at the sky. At this moment, the thunder had already gathered and was getting stronger and stronger. The power of heaven had not been released, but just the pressure of the aura was enough to make people feel irritable and uneasy. Boom, boom, boom. The thunderbolt finally struck. The power of the heavenly tribulation of the 2 profound level weapons condensed together. It was boundless and fell down. Suddenly, a green light barrier appeared above everyone. It was the array disk's boundary, which blocked the thunderbolt, but it was completely broken in just a short moment, and the thunderbolt finally fell toward Yunxiao. Yunxiao turned to Mo Xiaochuan and the other man and shouted, "Enter." A ray of light flashed on the Divine Realm tablet and absorbed the 2 of them. Then, he kept forming seals with his hands, and rays of green light spread out from his hands and spread around him. It was the lightning attracting technique. He wanted to expand the lightning infinitely. Di Jia looked at it with a serious face. He was also afraid of the holy weapon and did not dare to try it himself. Finally, Yunxiao's energy consumption reached its limit. The Divine Realm tablet's world power disappeared, and the entire tablet was retracted back into his body. The defensive power of the 5-sword picture was also shattered at this moment. With a loud cry, Yunxiao turned his body into a thunderbolt with the last of his strength and welcomed the thunder tribulation. The huge green lightning fell and devoured all the demons. Even Jiang Huishu and Yu Qijin were struggling under the lightning and screamed. The rest of the minions were directly turned into ashes. While Yunxiao's elemental body was undergoing the baptism of the thunder tribulation, the power of the imperishable golden body was crazily absorbing the thunder and transforming it into energy for his body to absorb. Moreover, his elemental power was fused with the thunder of the heavenly tribulation, and he was constantly being refined like the 2 profound level weapons. A wizardry barrier appeared around Di Jia's body, blocking the thunder. He looked at everything coldly. Hua Yin, who was behind him, was also shocked. The tribulation thunder gradually disappeared, and Yunxiao's body slowly reappeared, still flickering with lightning. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at Di Jia. Di Jia's face was as gloomy as water, and he said coldly, "I'll let you off this time." 3 wisps of black demonic chi suddenly gushed out of his body and turned into 3 huge demons. They bit at Jiang Huishu, Yu Qijin, and the martial sovereign in charge. The 3 of them didn't resist at all and were completely swallowed by the 3 demons. Then, they returned to Di Jia's body. After that, he gave Yunxiao a cold look, then turned into a stream of black smoke and left with the sound of fire. Yunxiao suddenly opened his mouth and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. After swallowing a few medicinal pills, he sat down and meditated. Soon, a large number of cultivators rushed in this direction. The power of the lightning was too shocking, and many people recognized that it was a profound level weapon lightning tribulation. One by one, greed surged. The Thunder Tribulation attack not only broke the defense of Division 7, but also broke the 9 Hao Yuan Fiend formation of the Blood God Palace. The people of the Divine Palace were all horrified and rushed toward the Thunder Tribulation. In the base camp of the core area, Su Chu was returning from the 13th Southwest area. When he saw the lightning tribulation falling from the distance, his face changed and he said in horror, "Lightning tribulation. This is the lightning tribulation of a 9th tier, profound artifact." The person beside him looked at the lightning in a daze and said in shock, "9th tier profound weapon tribulation lightning? My lord, you must be joking. Could it be that a 9th tier alchemist is refining profound level weapons there?" Su Yu looked at him coldly and said, "I don't have the time to joke with you. The seal is about to be broken, and the burial land seems to be not as simple as it seems. Immediately send the experts from UNC to follow me and send a group of people to the 13th district in the southwest to protect it." After he finished speaking, he turned into a ray of light and left in the direction of the lightning tribulation. As the secretary of the Origin Department of the Holy Realm, in charge of the secrets of arrays, and a 9th tier great alchemist himself, he could not have been mistaken about the thunderbolt. If there was a 9th tier alchemist in the burial land, it would not be simple. Yunxiao looked at the dozens of beams of light in the sky and muttered to himself, "I wonder if that Su Yu has been alerted?" He gradually turned his body into lightning and slowly hid in a large tree. The lightning was formed by the Yi-wood Qi, so it didn't feel out of place when it was integrated into the big tree. The seal of the Earth Vein had locked everyone's divine sense, so no matter how strong the master was, he would never be discovered. It's actually empty? He's walking so fast. Everyone, look at the level of destruction here. The power of the tribulation lightning is so strong that it's definitely at the 9th tier. It's amazing that a 9th tier alchemist is refining artifacts here. It's a pity that I'm one step too late. 9th tier alchemists are godlike existences no matter where they are. Why would they come to this damn place to refine artifacts? I missed it. If I catch him, I'll make 9th tier profound armaments for me every day. In an instant, dozens of people swarmed in. Each of them had a different expression on their faces. Some were amazed, some were remorseful, some were suspicious, and some were guessing. The scion of the blood god stood in the air and looked down coldly. More than 10 experts of the blood god palace immediately gathered around him. They stood quietly under his might. "Master, was that really a 9th rank lightning tribulation? Could it be that a 9th tier profound armament has been born?" A disciple stepped forward and asked suspiciously. It was Chao Yaxing. He was the disciple doted on by the blood god, so he had this backing. The scion's face darkened as he said, "I've never seen a 9th tier profound artifact lightning tribulation before, so it's hard to judge whether it's true or not, but," he said seriously, "I keep feeling that my heavenly master's giant chi is nearby, but I can't pinpoint the exact location." "Master, isn't that heavenly master's giant dipper ruler the profound level weapon that you're cultivating with?" Chao Yaxing asked in surprise. "How did it get lost?" The blood god's face twitched, and he revealed a fierce look. Normally, this kind of expression meant that he was going to kill someone. Chao Yaxing was also shocked and quickly took a few steps back. When the scion of the blood god saw that it was his beloved disciple, he gradually retracted his fierce expression. However, he was still extremely gloomy as he said, "In order to make it easier to control after refining the blood fiends, I've also integrated my heavenly master's giant nightmare ruler into it." Eh? If that's the case, then shouldn't the blood fiend be nearby? Chao Yaxing asked, stunned. The blood god's eyes swept across the area below him with a fierce light. "That's right, the heavenly master's giant chi ruler is connected to my breath, but why can't it determine the specific location?" He looked at the big tree Yunxiao had sunk into in confusion, and then he looked away, revealing an irritated and puzzled look. "You guys, quickly look. It's a 9th tier profound armament." Suddenly, a loud shout rang out from the crowd below, and everyone's eyes immediately followed the sound. A cultivator's hand flashed as if he was hiding something, and in an instant, he transformed into a golden light and tried to escape.